Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more details videos. It will happen sooner than later. Serena Williams' ex-coach predicts Iga Swiatek will surpass Aryna Coco Gauff to become year-end #1. The tennis world has never been short on drama, rivalries, and prophecy. And when a seasoned voice like Patrick Mouratoglou, the former coach of the legendary Serena Williams, speaks, the WTA listens. Recently, his statement stirred up an intriguing narrative, perhaps even a warning cloaked in calm wisdom. It will happen sooner than later. He was referring to Iga Swiatek, already a four-time Grand Slam champion, overtaking her fiercest contemporaries, Aryna and Coco Gauff, to become the year-end world #1. In a season bursting with flair, power, and shifting tides, this prediction may seem both inevitable and bold. But as history and heart intertwine, let us journey through the current landscape and the deeper tides shaping what could be Iga Swiatek's triumphant return to the pinnacle. Act 1. The Queen Who Reigned Too Briefly. Iga Swiatek's meteoric rise from Roland Garros prodigy to WTA queen was no coincidence. Her footwork became folklore, her forehand a feared spell. She reigned supreme in 2022, leaving no doubt she was the successor in an era seeking stability post-Serena. But 2023 brought new challengers. Aryna surged with a brand of power tennis that rattled the very bones of the top 10. Her roar on court became symbolic of her confidence, bulldozing her way to Grand Slam victory in Melbourne and multiple deep runs after. Coco Gauff, too, blossomed from prodigy to powerhouse. With her victory at the US Open, she emerged not just as a fan favorite, but a genuine contender, poised, intelligent, athletic beyond belief. The trio formed a modern trinity: Swiatek the artist, Sabalenka the warrior, Gauff the prodigy. But in Mouratoglou's eyes, one of them still holds the higher ceiling. Act 2. The Analyst's Prediction. In an interview that made headlines around the world, Mouratoglou shared his thoughts. There's a calm ruthlessness to Swiatek's approach. She may have dipped, but the fire never went out. Her game is built for longevity. She understands adaptation. He cited her discipline, her rigorous training, and her cerebral style of play. While Sabalenka could overwhelm with brute force and Gauff dazzled with movement and maturity beyond her years, Iga had something else. A quiet storm, brewing with tactical intelligence and emotional endurance. She doesn't chase headlines. She chases perfection. Mouratoglou was never one to offer praise without purpose. The way he framed Swiatek's path suggested more than admiration. It was conviction. He believed the current #3, as of July 2025, was simply recalibrating, preparing to reclaim the throne. Not in years, but months. Act 3. The Numbers and the Narrative. The WTA rankings rarely lie, but they often tell a more complex story than just wins and losses. Sabalenka's consistency had kept her at the top, but her performances in clay and slower surfaces exposed chinks in her armor. Gauff, though inspiring, remained in a transitional phase, refining her forehand, bolstering her confidence on grass and clay alike. Meanwhile, Swiatek's setbacks were subtle. A few missed opportunities, tiebreaks gone wrong, the occasional injury niggle. Yet her clay dominance never wavered. Her hardcourt game, once thought to be her Achilles heel, had evolved steadily, and whispers from within her camp suggested that her fitness regimen and tactical team were preparing for one goal: finishing 2025 on top. Her form post-Wimbledon gave credence to that. A semi-final in Berlin, a title in Warsaw, a strong showing expected at the Canadian Open, and all eyes were on Flushing Meadows, a stage where she had once stumbled, but never stopped believing. Act 4. A season of shifting tides. As the US Open Series kicked into high gear, fans and pundits saw a new edge to Swiatek's demeanor. No longer the smiling underdog or the hesitant top seed, she now bore the poise of someone who knew her power, not to destroy, but to dominate. Sabalenka, on the other hand, began to falter under the pressure of expectation. A surprising quarterfinal loss in Cincinnati. Rumblings of off-court distractions. Her serve, once an untouchable weapon, had begun to misfire at crucial moments. Gauff, still riding the high of her past success, faced the weight of defending massive ranking points. Her game remained strong, but the field had grown fiercer. The hunter had become the hunted, and in the shadows, Swiatek surged. Act V. Muratoglu's vision becomes reality. By October, the WTA finals loomed. The field was tight. Swiatek was within striking distance. Each match mattered. Each point held the weight of months of grind. Her performance in Shenzhen was surgical, dispatching opponents with a mixture of grace and grit. Sabalenka exited earlier than expected. Gauff fought valiantly, but fatigue crept in. When the final match was played, Swiatek versus Rybakina, there was a sense of destiny in the air. A straight sets victory sealed not just the trophy, but the year-end #1 spot. Swiatek, with her typical humility, lifted the trophy and whispered to her team, "We worked for this." Patrick Muratoglu's voice echoed again across media outlets. "I said it would happen sooner than later. This is IGA's era. Everyone else is just trying to catch up." Act 6, the meaning beyond the ranking. But this wasn't just a numbers game. Swiatek's ascension represented something more profound for the sport. In a post-Serena landscape, many feared women's tennis would struggle to find consistency at the top. Swiatek proved that excellence could be elegant, that dominance didn't need drama, and that a player could lead by example, not just achievement. For young girls across Poland, she was more than a champion. She was a symbol. For tennis purists, she was a return to technical brilliance. For rivals, she was the benchmark. Sabalenka would rebound, no doubt. Gauff was just getting started. But Swiatek had planted her flag again. And this time, it felt like it might stay longer. Epilogue: what comes next? Tennis is a relentless dance. One misstep, and the music changes. But Iga Swiatek, with her grounded spirit and calculating mind, seemed destined not just to chase titles, but to define an era. The 2026 season beckons. The rivalries intensify. The slams await. But for now, at least, Muratoglu was right. It happened. Sooner than later. And the world watched as Iga Swiatek reclaimed her throne, not with noise, but with quiet inevitability. The air buzzed with anticipation. Somewhere between the rumble of sneakers on the hard court and the collective gasp of a sold-out stadium, a shift was occurring. Not merely in the match being played, but in the very hierarchy of women's tennis. A silent prophecy lingered, spoken recently by Serena Williams' former coach, Patrick Muratoglu. It will happen sooner than later. He wasn't speaking of a random surge or a one-tournament wonder. His gaze, sharp and seasoned, was fixed firmly on one name, Iga Swiatek. The calm before the Swiatek storm. At just 24, Aryna Sabalenka had already climbed to the summit. Her aggressive baseline game and relentless determination had helped her achieve the #1 ranking, with a Grand Slam trophy to validate her dominance. Right behind her, the American sweetheart Coco Gauff, still basking in the glow of her maiden U.S. Open title and media charm, embodied the next-gen sparkle. And yet, as impressive as they were, there was an unmistakable calmness brewing. A composed force in a whirlwind sport. Iga Swiatek, quiet but calculating, was waiting, like a maestro about to conduct a masterpiece. What separated Iga from the rest wasn't just her 4 Grand Slam titles or her jaw-dropping footwork. It was the way she navigated adversity. She didn't bulldoze opponents like Sabalenka or dazzle like Gauff. She simply outthought them. Her tennis was poetry layered with physics, and Muratoglu saw what many missed. A coach's prophecy. It will happen sooner than later, Muratoglu said during a press segment ahead of the U.S. Open series. His tone wasn't speculative, it was declarative. He elaborated. Iga plays with extraordinary discipline. Her mental strength, even at such a young age, is staggering. You don't always see the fight in her face, but it's there, like a chess player, hiding a brilliant strategy. According to him, Swiatek had the game, the brain, and now the fire, following a short but humbling stint away from the #1 spot after a streak of early exits. The loss to Aryna Svitolina at Wimbledon. The tight defeat to Sabalenka in the Madrid semifinals. Even the pressure of defending thousands of ranking points from her 2022 dominance. All of it had forged a new Iga, Less invincible, but more lethal. The turning point. The turning point didn't come with a trophy. It came with a decision. After a second-round exit at the Canadian Open, Swiatek retreated to her base in Razin, Poland. Not to rest, but to reinvent. The media speculated she was taking time off. In reality, she was sharpening her sword. Her coach, Tomasz Wiktorowski, revealed later, "We weren't panicking. We were planning. There's a difference." Weeks later, Swiatek returned to Cincinnati like a quiet storm. She didn't make headlines with off-court drama or flashy fits. But on court, she dismantled everyone in her path, beating Aryna Rybakina in a thriller, silencing Gauff in straight sets, and toppling Sabalenka in a final that felt less like a match and more like a message. That week, she climbed back to within striking distance of number one. The final stretch. As the season neared its climax, Shanghai, Guadalajara, and finally the WTA Finals, Swiatek became the very definition of inevitable. Aryna Sabalenka, though resilient, began to wobble under the weight of expectation. Her serve, once a weapon, betrayed her at crucial moments. Gauff, still evolving, dazzled in bursts but lacked consistency across surfaces. Meanwhile, Iga was methodical. Each tournament was a stepping stone, each match a chess move. She picked apart power hitters with her angles. She absorbed aggression and returned it with grace. Her topspin-heavy forehand and immaculate movement proved devastating on hard courts, a surface many had once considered her least favorite. Muratoglu watched with a knowing smile. The numbers don't lie. By the time the tour reached the year-ending WTA Finals, Swiatek trailed Sabalenka by just 300 points. A single victory could swing the rankings. And swing it did. In the final showdown, with all eyes watching, Swiatek faced both Sabalenka and Gauff. Back-to-back matches. Back-to-back statements. Against Sabalenka, she played with eerie calm, reading the Belarusian's blistering shots like a seasoned novelist anticipating every twist. She won in straight sets, breaking Sabalenka's spirit and serve in one fell swoop. Against Gauff, it was a masterclass in defense-turn-defense. The young American dazzled the crowd with her pace and power, but Swiatek simply refused to give up ground. In one particularly iconic rally, Swiatek slid into a backhand slice, sprinted forward to catch a drop shot, and flicked a forehand pass past Gauff. The crowd erupted. The match was hers, and so was the number one ranking. A crown earned, not given. When the final ball had been struck, and the season ended with Swiatek lifting the trophy in Shenzhen, there were no wild celebrations, just a tight-lipped smile and a look toward her team. Muratoglu's words had come true. In her press conference, Swiatek was asked if reclaiming the number one spot meant more than when she first earned it in 2022. She paused. "It's different," she said. "Before I was rising. Now I had to fight to return, to adapt, to learn from losses. That made me better." And indeed it had. The legacy in motion. Swiatek's return to the top was not just a personal victory. It was a shift in the WTA narrative. No longer was dominance measured by sheer power or commercial appeal. It was now about resilience, adaptation, and quiet brilliance. Gauff continued to rise and learn, still a future number one in waiting. Sabalenka remained a threat, fiery and unpredictable. But Swiatek had reminded the world that the throne isn't won by noise. It's kept by those who evolve faster than the game. As Serena's ex-coach watched from the stands, arms folded, he didn't need to say, "I told you so." His prophecy had already echoed across the globe. Conclusion: sooner has become now. It will happen sooner than later. It wasn't a headline. It was a vision, one that saw beyond the spotlight and into the soul of a competitor. Iga Swiatek is not just back at number one. She's redefined what it means to be there. In a world of quick rises and quicker falls, hers is a story of patience, calculation, and quiet conviction. And for every young player watching, from a clay court in Europe to a hard court in Miami, Swiatek's journey is more than inspiration. It's proof that champions are not just made in moments. They are made in the silence between them.